All right, we get it rolling after 49er football here at Levi's. Larry Krueger with you. And of course, let's fire up the band. Niners get a nice win over the New York Giants. Very one-sided victory for the Niners against the Giants. We got a full deal. I was just down in the locker room, talked to Colton Kivitz, talked to Jake Moody, who had a big night tonight, and just got a chance to talk to some of the players after the game. Niners get a nice win over the Giants, and what can you say? Bay Area Baller's going to join us in a bit. We're going to John Dickinson will be in the house. Kev is out partying with his college friends, so we're not going to get Kev tonight. He's down at Cal Poly having a good old time. But I have invited the great Damon Bruce. When he finishes his show, he's probably going to jump in. John Dickinson is stopping by on 95.7 The Game. He's going to join us. And, of course, we are joined by the one and only Bay Area Baller right now. I've also invited Raj to the house as well. And actually, we should probably have the right Baller before we get rolling here. Let me just make sure I have the right screen up. There we go. How's that doing? Nice win for the 49ers. Just went live just 1 second ago, Baller, and 30-12, the final. 49ers 17-6 at half. The highlight of the game was the fourth quarter dime that Brock Purdy dropped in the lap of Deebo Samuel, and the Niners beat a Saquon Barkley less Giants team 30-12. 6 consecutive games of 30 points or more for Brock Purdy. Baller, what'd you think?
It was a big time win. Now, Thursday night games, sometimes things can get a little iffy, right? They can be kind of sloppy. So I was glad to see the Niners dominate. I don't think the scoreboard really reflected how much they dominated. I mean, Looking at the yards, the 49ers had 441 and the Giants only managed 150 totally. So the yardage differential was dramatic. Although, some red zone woes kind of kept the Giants in it, but the Niners dominated. And I want to talk about the big three on offense because, in my opinion, Krug, they were not going to let the Niners lose tonight. And obviously, I'm talking about Deebo, George Kittle, and Christian McCaffrey. Let's start off with Deebo.
Yeah.
12 targets. They were trying to get him involved, and they did. The big game after the catch, Deebo, he's the best in the league, Krug. With the ball in his hands,
he's tough to bring down. He's like a fullback.
His agility, his power. The first guy never brings him down. So Deebo, phenomenal. The catch in traffic, Brock. And you know what, Krug? What I noticed was Brock hit that throw to Deebo. I'm gonna call that a sluggo, right? Kind of like a slant, kind of fake slant and go. And
are you talking about the touchdown? Or are you talking about the play when he got hurt?
The touchdown. The touchdown. It looked like It was kind of like a fake slant, and then he went, and Purdy threw that on the money. If we go back a week ago, Purdy missed a similar throw to Ayuk, right deep. So I was glad to see Purdy connect on that one. Deebo was phenomenal, and then George Kittle. Finally, we get kind of the George Kittle game that we've been waiting for. He was ultra productive. I thought he was the safety blanket for Brock Purdy tonight. Really, when maybe the first option wasn't open, boom, hit it to Kittle. And Kittle, same thing like Deebo. These guys fight for those extra yards, and that's what I think won him the game tonight. It was just they out-toughed the Giants.
It's funny, too. It's like, I'd love to say, well, man, didn't see this one coming. But, I mean, I made a couple different predictions, but all of them were in the neighborhood of 31-13, 35-13, something like that. And sure enough, 30-12 was the final. It was not Brock Purdy's best game. I thought this might have been one of Brock's tougher games. It was interesting watching the All-22 last week, Baller, of Arizona and the Giants. The Giants were down 20-0 at halftime, and then Martindale brought the house in the second half. He blitzed Joshua Dobbs just relentlessly last week, and I thought to myself, you know what? Get ready for this. And I thought, well, is there a chance that he won't bring the blitz against Purdy because Purdy's a much more refined passer than Joshua Dobbs? But then I'm thinking to myself, you know what? No, the Giants see Purdy as a borderline, neophyte, as a guy who was a rookie last year, who's only a second year player, and they don't look at him like a veteran player. They look at him like a young player. And I thought, okay, they're going to bring the house, they're going to blitz him a lot. They blitzed him a ton.
Yeah,
Oh
they
my
did.
God, they just kept bringing exotics all night long. And I'll give Martindale credit. Every blitz that he's got, he brought. I mean, it was an array of different blitzes. And when you really think about it, for them to bring that much pressure, it put a lot of pressure on Jake Brendel. It put a lot of pressure on the Niner offensive line. But the Giants only got 2 sacks and only 8 hits on the quarterback for bringing that much pressure. I thought the Niners handled it well, and it wasn't a pretty game by any stretch. I mean, Purdy, it's funny, Baller. We see Purdy on the road. We see Purdy at home. We've seen Purdy last year. Now we've seen him this year. We saw him at Iowa State. One thing that's remarkable about Brock Purdy is that he keeps completing roughly almost the identical percentage of his passes, no matter what we're talking about, preseason, whether you're talking about a road game, a home game, he completes about 67 to 68% of his passes. He was 25 of 37 tonight for 310 yards and 2 touchdowns. And once again, right about 67, 68%. He's remarkably consistent. And then, with no Ayuk, and, there was talk all week, is Ayuk going to go? Is he not going to go? I didn't expect him to go. And I said, you know what? I expect Ronnie Bell to step up. And Ronnie Bell had 2 catches, but they were 2 outstanding catches. One was a touchdown, the other off the deflection. I thought Ronnie Bell stepped up. Debo stepped up. I talked to Debo in the locker room for a few minutes, and he just said, hey, how you feeling? Because he was moving around. He got hit pretty hard. And he's sore, and he's, but it doesn't seem like he's going to have any long-term injury or long-term effects from this game. He definitely wasn't moving his best in the post game, but 6 catches for $120 and a touchdown for Debo. And the ball that Brock put on him, the 27-yard touchdown, can you throw a ball better than that? Just a flat, absolute perfect pass by Brock. Total dime. Yeah. Very impressive performance. And then Kittle, I don't think Kittle's 100% yet. I mean, to be totally honest, I don't
think so either, but he's still fighting his tail off.
Yeah.
That's not an excuse for him to go all out. This guy fights for every yard, converting third downs. I thought he was really freaking good tonight.
Yeah, 9 targets for Kittle. He caught 7 balls for 90 yards. You mentioned McCaffrey. The other thing I liked in this game is in the fourth quarter when the game is out of reach, and I talked about this week as well. Shanahan's got to get CMC off the field and try to preserve him a little bit, and he did. The Niners ran it 39 times. It was great balance tonight. 37 passes, 39 runs, but only 18 runs for CMC. They mixed in Mitchell for 11, Jordan Mason for 3, and I like that. That's more of the split that I want to see going forward. What'd you think of the split?
I liked it, especially coming off the short rest. And what I did like, I thought Eli Mitchell, he was fighting for yardage too.
Yeah.
He's another guy who he did not want to go down. So Eli, it was good to see him get involved, especially on the short rest. McCaffrey got 100% of the running back usage last week. Like, that is insane.
I know. It's too much.
It is.
I love McCaffrey. He's a great talent. As we welcome in the great Dan Coach Emilio, the czar of NorCal Sports Network, joining us on his Gabe Kapler free night tonight. But I like the split up of the carries, Danny. I mean, what'd you think? I mean, instead of just going McCaffrey, at least, McCaffrey got the lion's share of the carries, and he got the important ones. But I like the fact that they got Mitchell in the game, and I like Mitchell's a good running back. He can do some decent things. He's not McCaffrey. He's not as good as McCaffrey, but he's good enough to mix in there. 11 carries for 42 yards, almost 4 yards a carry. He had an 18-yard run. And obviously it was kind of it was really just that one 18-yard run. The rest of it was kind of tough sledding for Mitchell.
Yeah.
But I just like the fact that 14 carries that could have gone to McCaffrey went to Mitchell and Mason.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to get it's week 3 of what Niners hope to be a 20-week season. You can't run them into the ground. And so what it looks like Mitchell had 11 carries, 42 yards. He averaged 3.8. Yeah, McCaffrey only had 18 as opposed to last week. He got every carry. Now you get 10 days off before the next, you start getting pounded flesh again. I think it helps. And, a lot of teams are going, 60-40. But McCaffrey's so good and he's so dominant that, I can take a 75-25, split out there. I just don't want to, like you said, don't want to see him, getting 90% of the carries. If it's a pass situation, it's great having him out there. But I think this is good. Niners are off to wow. Were they 3-0 in 19, or did they lose early?
That's a good question. Baller, do you remember how they started in 19?
No, I don't. I'm gonna look it up though.
Because they were saying on the broadcast tonight on Apple, this they kept talking about the Niners being 3-0, and Kittle came on afterwards, and I didn't recall them saying that it happened in 19. I can look it up.
They started off winning their first 8 games.
Okay, they were 8-0.
Okay,
so
they were
this
8-0.
is I mean, I could see them doing an 8-0. They got 8-0, then they got a bye.
You think so? They get Dallas in week 5.
Yeah, I mean, I can see him gelling. I really could. This is a physical team that the guys on Apple were talking about. And these guys are all players.
The game was on Amazon tonight, huh?
Or
it was an Amazon Prime night.
Or it was an Amazon. Yeah, I keep saying Apple, Amazon.
At halftime, it was on Channel 2 as well. So I think locally you pick it up. But other than that, nationally, you had to watch.
Yeah, that's right. I get confused. I just clicked. I saw it, Prime Video, hit it. But they were talking about, hey, this is a physical team that you don't want to play.
The Niners.
A lot of guys, you don't want to play the Niners. I mean, you see that hit by Greenlaw. Now, I thought on TV it sounded like as he hit him, he was blowing.
Where he drew the penalty?
Yeah. I didn't.
Why is that a penalty? Why was that a penalty?
They said that he blew the whistle, blew the play dead.
I don't think
it was a late hit, but I agree with Dan. It was kind of bang bang.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
It seems like we're in an era now where they officiate they've kind of officiated any kind of violent contact out of the game. And it doesn't matter if it's before the whistle or after the whistle, if you go high, if you go low. If you starch a guy and really blow him up, the flag's coming, man. The flag is coming. Just seems like it's just almost like a rule of thumb. I talked to Dre in the locker room, and he's like, I said, how you doing on that one play? I thought maybe you kind of hurt your groin there, or pulled an adductor, or was it a leg pull? And he's like, no, man, I think I rolled the ankle a little bit.
I saw the ankle, yes.
But then I said, is it a high ankle or low ankle? He said it's a low ankle. I looked down at his ankle, and his ankle looked fine. And he's like, yeah, I'll be fine. He goes, I'll be there for the Arizona game. I can walk it off. He was walking after the showers. He didn't seem in any way like he was favoring that ankle in any way, and he said he'd be fine. So
I
didn't get a chance to tape an interview with him.
And it was they showed the replay on it.
Yeah.
And when he got hit as he was rushing the QB, kind of got backed into, and his ankle, it was definitely a low ankle. You saw the whole ankle bend, and then it was like they showed him walking off on the sidelines, and he started kind of doing a running in place, jumping, just feeling it out. And I says, oh, that's just a basketball ankle injury that guys, maybe miss a game if it's back to back, but they're usually in the lineup, 2 days later. So
it's amazing. It's the kind of injury that would probably put us out for weeks, but these guys, he's jumping up and down on it 1 minute later.
Yeah.
Let me hit some of these supers. Andrew says, hey, I'm Andrew. Here's $1. All right, there you go. Hey, Andrew. Aussie Niner says, death, taxes, and Purdy putting up 30 points.
I think
it is remarkable how consistent. First of all, I mentioned that, Brock always completes about 67% of his passes.
67.5 tonight.
Yeah, 67.5 tonight, and the Niners score 30.
Yeah,
They score 30 every game, 6 games in a row now with 30.
Larry, I think you should, with your reach that you have, I think you should, since you kind of were the first guy on Purdy, now I think you should start putting that nickname out, Brock 30 Purdy.
30 for Purdy?
30 Purdy, man. That's, I mean, he is.
It's amazing.
Every game.
And I thought in the first half he looked bad.
I was about to say that this wasn't his A game, and maybe it's like a B- game. I will say the 2 touchdown passes I thought were spectacular. You know,
right on the hands.
Martindale, the defensive coordinator for the Giants, was blitzing the crap out of Purdy, and I got to say, at times it did give him some trouble. At times, but he also
he threw away. Here's the other thing, and this was like a Jimmy Garoppolo needs to watch this film. If you're going to get blitzed with a bunch of exotic blitzes, like Purdy was blitzed tonight by Martindale, one, you've got to go to the next down. You've got to go to the next play. You can't try to make a play out of every single play. And that was my biggest criticism with Jimmy G, is that he just always tried to make a play, which is, it's commendable, but it's just not reality in the NFL. You can't make every play. I counted at least 4 or 5 where Purdy just threw it away. He saw, he's not going to give up. If he's going to take a big hit, it's going to be a blindside hit that he doesn't see. He's not going to sit there in the pocket and get smoked by some defender who's got a free run at him. He'll stand in courageously and deliver the ball down the field, but he is not going to. He's not going to sit there and just get beat up. I mean, he'll throw the ball away and either punt, or he'll throw the ball away and go to the next down. And I think football is so much. You go into the locker room, you talk to these guys, you'll hear the phrase, "We just got to make a play. Just got to make a play. Got to make a play." And they'll say that over and over again. It doesn't matter if you're talking offense or defense. Just got to make a play. Nobody ever talks about, I've just got to avoid a negative play. And that's really been a big part of Purdy's success with the Niners so far, is that he doesn't make the hugely negative play. They don't turn it over. I mean, tonight there was 1 turnover in the game. It was from the Giants. That's it. 1 turnover.
He had a close one. He had a close call.
He had a close
one. That first quarter.
He had a couple.
Had to swipe it away.
How about the touchdown pass that he tried to throw in the first half? It was basically in the end zone on the Niners side of the field, on the Niners side end of the. It was near the Niners sideline, and I think it was to Debo, and he just threw it way too soft, and the defender almost came over and picked it off, but it fell incomplete. Purdy had a couple of throws in the first half that I was like, wow, not good throws. He did not. I was saying to Grant Cohn at halftime, I'm like, man, he really doesn't look very sharp tonight. And Grant's like, yeah, I don't know, it's not his night, or if he needs rest and it's a short week. But man, he came out in the second half and he played really well. To me, the one difference between Purdy and other quarterbacks is he if things aren't going well, things aren't going well. But he's going to stick it in there if he can, but he's not going to force the action. And he takes care of the football. You take care of the football in the NFL, you win. Simple as that. Andrew has another one here. He says, let me go to it. He says, hitting those hot routes today, no scrambling. Yeah, he didn't get out and run. What was his final rushing total? See, Purdy had 4 rushes for -1 yard. So he really didn't run at all tonight. But
it's
hard
what? To run when you're getting blitzed so much.
I know. Especially with the outside linebackers have so much speed. Yeah. We got this one from 404 error file not found, donates $19.99. He says, sharing the wealth. Thanks for the content, Larry. The boys were good to me tonight. Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah. If you win, we win. There you go. I appreciate the donation. We got this one right here from Daryl, 49er for life, Smock. He says, Krueger, how you feel about the old school hard-hitting Greenlaw hit? I love it. I mean, Greenlaw is one of my favorite Niners. I love the linebacker that just absolutely detonates on guys. It's old school football, but it's funny. I used to have a good buddy who's no longer with us, and I worked with him in the Canadian Football League, and he worked in the NFL, and he was a defensive coordinator, defensive line coach, and he said, Larry, he goes, let me tell you about the mindset of an NFL player. And I'm like, okay, go ahead, coach, tell me. And he's like, some guys play for the money. And I go, oh, okay. He goes, some guys play for the girls. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, some guys play for the wins. I'm like, okay. And then he's like, and then there's some guys who play to just fuck shit up. I mean, that was his line. He goes, they just like to go out there and fuck people up. And it's like, sometimes I feel like Greenlaw is kind of like that kind of a guy. It's like, does he play for the win? Yeah. Does he play for the money? Yeah. I don't know about playing for the girls, but he plays the game like somebody who's trying to beat you up. In that Pittsburgh game, I was almost convinced in the second half that he was allowing completions in front of him so he could come up and starch these guys. I mean, the fourth quarter of Niners Steelers was ridiculous. I mean, he was just violently hitting guys. And the Niners played the kind of a soft coverage, but if you complete a ball in front of Dre Greenlaw, he will step up and absolutely destroy you. I really kind of believe the old coach was right. There's some percentage of guys who play just to hit, to be violent. And
he loves to hit people.
He loves to hit. And I've asked him about it. I said, Dre, I went up to him in camp earlier this year. I'm like, Dre, you just love to hit people, huh? And he's like, oh, yeah. Yeah. I was like, yeah. He just loves to hit. I mean, and that's what I want on my defense. I want 3 or 4 guys who show up and they love to be violent.
I played with a couple of those kind of guys, and man, they are crazy. And
they're the best teammates.
Oh, they're the best, and they got your back every time. I mean, I had one guy when I was playing high school football against a team. I was dating one girl, and he was at the opposite high school. And the guy was after me after the game on the other team, and that dude. Couple other guys, they just got right by me. They're like, "We got you, man." Because I was just a skinny little runt, man. I was like I was about 155 pounds, man.
No, I kind of think of you as the Dre Greenlaw of your team. That's Big Dan, Coach Emilio. He just shows up to fuck people up.
I hated practicing against that guy, man. He was so solid. In fact, we were playing. We played baseball one time, and they had a little 5-foot fence, a little chain link fence. It was like not even 5. It was like just over your waist. Hit a ball deep, and he's going back after it. He went right through the thing, put a big dent in the aluminum, the top of the piece. He's so solid. And that's how they showed Greenlaw up close tonight after that hit. They were kind of, man, that guy is built. He is muscular.
Oh, he's 250 and just rocked up.
And what is he, like 2 ounces of body fat?
If I ask the question, who is the most violent hitter in Niner history? Who is the most violent hitter in Niner history?
I gotta think.
Who's the guy who
Ronnie Lott?
Ronnie
Lott.
Ronnie.
Yeah. Ronnie Lott.
Why even ask? Let's just say this.
Dante Whitner. How about when Dante Whitner
who's the second?
lit up
If Ronnie's one, who's 2?
I'm going with Dante Hittner. Man, him laying
Whitner? Hittner or the Whitner? Yeah.
Just knocking him out cold. I think that was a playoff game, if I'm not mistaken.
Pierre Thomas.
Yeah, knocked him out.
Pierre Thomas against the Saints.
Fumble Rooski. That was back when you could still hit.
Oh, yeah. He folded
Romanowski hit pretty good, too.
Romo. The Hawk, Deshaun Goldson.
Deshaun Goldson.
Yeah.
He was a big hitter. He was a big hitter. The Niners are not kind of known for the hitters, but, man, Greenlaw's fun to watch. Joey Malone
Tim McDonald was a pretty good hitter, too.
T-Mac was a big hitter. There's got to be somebody we're not thinking of.
I like the chat. I mean, Navarro Bowman.
Patrick Willis.
Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis. I mean,
Willis, yeah.
Willis and Bowman.
If
I said to you, better combo, Willis Bowman, Warner Greenlaw.
Willis Bowman.
Wilson Bowman.
I'm gonna go the other guys
It's close.
I'm gonna go Warner and Greenlaw because of the longevity. I think they're gonna play longer together.
Well,
I'm looking
it's
at
interesting.
the peak. I'm looking at the peaks.
Yeah, the peak when they were at their peak, those guys were the top 2 in the league.
Willis was a blue chipper. I mean, I think he went like 5th or 6th in the draft. Bowman was a Penn State linebacker who, if he had been 6'3", would have gone in the first round. Instead, he went in the second round. Those 2 guys were incredible. But the same kind of thing that we see with those 2 guys, you see it with these 2 guys in that they can run for days. I kind of think of the 4, Warner might be the best coverage player of all 4.
I think he's BYU.
Yeah, I mean, don't you think Warner seems like the best in coverage?
Oh, yeah.
Warner's the best coverage linebacker I've ever seen. Period.
He's really good.
When he's dropping in, most of these linebackers, when they drop into zone coverage, they're just covering grass. But Warner, he knows where everyone's at on the field. He can jump routes. Best coverage linebacker I've ever seen, Fred Warner.
Yeah. Fred Warner might be that's a great call. He might be the best coverage linebacker I've seen too. He plays the ball, 20, 30 yards down the field, almost like a defensive
running
back.
Seam routes with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's running a seam route 40 yards down the field, and Fred Warner's running stride for stride with him.
Yeah,
both duos have in common is that with 2 guys alone, they can take care of the entire second level. Like you can go 5-2, like a 5-2-4 look with, a 5-man surface up front and your 4 DBs, and just have, in the old days, Willis and Bowman, in the modern days, Greenlaw and Warner, even at times Azeez Al-Shaair was really good. They've got so much speed, they can cover that entire second level. Joey Malone says, I bought a Greenlaw jersey 2 years ago. Love Dre. Yeah, he's really something.
Hey, what is this with the Niners and they own the 7th round. I mean, Brock Purdy and
Ronnie Bell.
And Ronnie Bell. I mean, hey, when
seriously,
Bell made
way to go,
catch
Peters, way to go,
tonight,
Lynch.
I thought,
wait a second, what do we got there? Is that the Greenlaw jersey?
No, this is the big 9-7.
Oh, 9-7.
Nick Bosa.
Bosa.
I thought it said 5-7.
Which, hey, we haven't got into the D line. I want to talk some D line.
Yeah, we'll get into it. I talked to Kinlaw in the locker room after. He was feeling good.
Yeah,
Andrew says, name a better duo than Dre Greenlaw and unnecessary roughness. Yeah.
I thought we might have a little unnecessary roughness in the Giants dugout tonight. We saw Kapler and Kai Correa going at it.
Really? That's so Kapler. Pick on the tiniest guy in the room. Yeah.
I think, Kapler
what's next?
got
Kinlaw goes after Jake Moody. Tom Colby says, when you see Brock throw from the end zone cam, you wonder how he sees it. Yeah. And I'll say this about Brock tonight. It was really a story about perseverance, because it wasn't it's a short week. You're getting blitzed left and right. And I'll give Martindale some credit, man. He brought a bunch of exotic blitzes. He forced these guys to really communicate really well all night long. And I had a chance to, talk to Colton McKivitz, and he's like, yeah, we knew they were going to bring blitzes because they brought the blitz a lot in the second half, against Arizona. And he's like, it's up at the line of scrimmage, you're leaning on the center. He's got to make the call, and he's got to make the correct call. And that's the nice thing about Brendel. There are bigger, more physical centers than Jake Brendel, but he's so damn smart. He's a smart player, and he, making the right line calls as a center. I mean, it's just so pivotal. It's such a major thing. But yeah, Baller, what'd you think of the D-line tonight?
I thought the 2 studs, the blue chippers, Nick Bosa and Javon Hargrave, were absolutely spectacular. Both of them had sacks, but they had multiple, 5-6 impact plays where you just saw them immediately just making offensive linemen look foolish, and they were in the backfield. Daniel Jones, he couldn't quite do the quick passing game like Matt Stafford, but teams, this is going to be a theme you're going to notice. teams are scared of this defensive line and this pass rush. So they're going to this quick passing game. That's why Paris Campbell had 6 catches for 24 yards, 4 yards a pop, because you're just trying to eliminate the pass rush, get the ball out quick. But Nick Bosa and Javon Hargrave were relentless.
Hold on a second. I'm trying to get this video playing in the background to, do you guys hear the video in the background? Hold on a second. Wait a second. I'm trying to get this video to stop playing. Hold on. There we go. Were you guys surprised that Trent Williams didn't get thrown out of this game?
I was concerned there.
Would he head slap the guy?
He
punched the guy.
He got hit first. It looked like to me. He got popped first, and then Trent hit him. So
I think he was pissed because it was just they were just taking a knee, and the guy popped him.
Well, it was right at the end of the first half. I didn't get a good look at it. What did you see on that play?
Yeah, they were taking a knee, and Ashawn Robinson really, I looked like he went after, he lunged and like jabbed at Aaron Banks. And I think Trent Williams objected to that. And there was some jawing. And then from what I saw, Ashawn kind of like hit him maybe up towards the upper body.
Williams was just
and then Trent retaliated with a jab to punch.
Well, you guys remember in the pregame before the NFC Championship game in LA when Ashawn Robinson and Trent were going at it in the pregame?
Cool.
So there's some, these are old division rivals. Ashawn played with the Rams. Obviously, there's some bad blood there. And Ashawn's a pretty good player too. But I mean, he talks a big game for sure. And I just think Trent, that's what I saw. It seemed like Banks almost got kind of like somebody kind of took an extra cheap shot on Banks, and Trent was like backing him up.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I saw in that play.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Hargrave, and now that you got Hargrave inside and you got Bosa outside, you got 2 guys on your defensive front that have to be doubled. And if you don't double these guys, it's like, you can't handle them. I mean, Hargrave's, I don't know who's more unblockable, Bosa or Hargrave. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you guys. Did you guys feel like the sack that Bosa got was a safety?
No, he got him at the 1 yard line. He actually,
it was so far away. I was watching on the binocs. It was definitely at the 1.
They moved him at the 2. They marked it about the 2, but he actually got him at the 1.
Because it's like they blow it dead from the point where they initially make contact with him. It's not like where you pull him down at.
Right.
So he made contact with him at the 1. It was really close, but no, it wasn't a safety.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that play in the second half? And I wanted to ask you about this and see if they were saying anything about it on the TV. I'm in the upper deck, right? I mean, I'm in the I'm in the press box on the 8th level of the Sky Tower. So, and I'm on the binoculars. But there was a play late in the fourth quarter, maybe it was mid fourth quarter, where the Niners were on defense, and Mooney Ward and Isaiah Oliver could not decide who was covering who.
Yes.
And Daniel and eventually Oliver literally 2-hand shivered Ward and pushed him to the other guy. Like they both wanted to cover the guy in the slot, and Oliver like finally just insisted that Ward jump over and cover the other guy, and it seemed like it was just a miscommunication.
Yeah.
But what did the
running
announcer say
across
about
the
that?
Formation late, right?
Yeah, and they lucked. They lucked out. I thought because Jones didn't find the open guy.
He was at Waller, I think, and he dropped it.
That was it. Waller dropped it.
Yeah.
But what were the announcers saying about that? Because that you don't see that every day.
They showed a replay on it, and it looked like the guy that who ended up. Yeah, it was Ward that ended up staying on Waller, right? Was it
right?
Ward?
It was Mooney.
Yeah.
No. Mooney ran off. Oliver stayed on.
Oh, that's right. 7 was
Ward.
Is Mooney, and he ran over. Yeah, because Oliver's supposed to cover the tight end in the slot. That's why, and they got Lenore that usually covers the smaller guys that are in the slot.
That was weird. That was
very weird. It was a clear miscommunication. Yeah, it was some.
And it was just so late. Usually, if there's a miscommunication like that, it gets cleared up in a second. It was like they both wanted to cover the tight end. It was a very bizarre play. The other guy that I thought played pretty good in this game that we really didn't talk about is Oren Burks. Burks had 5 tackles, 4 of them were solo. He had 2 tackles for a loss. I thought Oren Burks played really, really well. Did you guys notice Burks at all?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned him. Yeah, he was flying around, in the base downs. Yeah, looked good.
The other thing, I'll tell you, the other surprise to me is I was surprised after watching the Arizona game that Daniel Jones did not go to Hodgins, the kid out of Berean High School in Walnut Creek who went to Oregon State. Only 1 target for Hodgins. And I thought he would have gone to Waller more. I guess they did go to him 7 times, and he only caught 3. But to me, my big concern in this game was, man, it's going to be Daniel Jones running. Let's credit the Niners too. I mean, Daniel Jones is a major runner. He's a big-time runner. They kept him to 5 yards rushing on 2 carries. They kept him hemmed in. He ran for 60 yards last week. I mean, Daniel Jones is the kind of guy that you can take bad angles on because he's 6'5", he's 225. You don't think of him as a runner, but man, he is an outstanding runner. And I thought the fact that you had no Saquon Barkley tonight and Jones never got loose as a runner, to me, that was probably one of the biggest things of the night.
Absolutely. That was huge because Daniel Jones, not only, and one thing I noticed watching that Giants-Cardinals game from last week, his legs are what really kept the Giants or got the Giants back into the game. Whether he was creating on the run, escaping the pocket and making a play downfield, or just running for yards. I think I can only remember like one play where Daniel Jones really utilized his legs well. I noted it. Kerry Hyder, this was on the 49ers' first defensive possession. So the Giants' first possession, Daniel Jones was able to squeeze out between Hyder and the defensive tackle. Hyder just rushed too far upfield and left a gap in there, and that's where Daniel Jones hit the improv to Brightwell for like a chunk play that got the Giants into field goal range. But other than that play, you're right, Larry. They did a great job containing Daniel Jones, keeping him in the pocket, making him feel uncomfortable. Like I said, Bosa and Javon Hargrave were really getting after him. Armstead, I also saw getting into the backfield. The defensive line made Daniel Jones uncomfortable.
There were several parts of this game, like in the pregame, that I was concerned about that never came to fruition. I thought Daniel Jones would potentially have a big night rushing. Didn't see that. I thought there was a very good chance, the same way that Stafford last week threw 20 passes to Puka Nacua, and the Niners had to go to man-to-man coverage in the second half to slow that down. I thought, after watching that film, that maybe the G-men would come out and try to feature a lot of short timing routes to Hodgins and to Waller. They never really, Hodgins didn't register a catch on the whole day. They only threw him 1 ball all night. And then the other guy, Jalen Hyatt, if you watched that Arizona game last week, he had 84 yards or something on 2 catches. The Giants did not have the one thing about the Giants is that the reason they came back in the second half against Arizona last week was they had dynamic offensive plays, and they minimized Arizona's dynamic offensive plays. Look at the receiving long plays. Slayton had a long catch of 17. Brightwell had a catch in the flat that he took for 18. That was it. Nobody else even got to double digits as far as, yards. And Hyatt wasn't even, I don't even know if I know he wasn't inactive because I saw the inactive list. He wasn't on it, but they didn't do anything with Hyatt. So Hyatt did nothing. They limited the Giants' explosives. Then look at the Niners' explosives. Deebo had a 40-yard play. Kittle had a 20-yard play. McCaffrey had a 17-yard catch. Juwan Jennings had a 24-yard catch.
The yak was huge tonight.
Ronnie Bell had a 15-yard catch. So the Niners got nice chunk yard plays out of those. And then offensively, the biggest run of the night for the New York Giants was 8 yards. and McCaffrey had a 12-yarder. I think Mitchell had an 18-yarder. So, I mean, the Niners definitely won as far as the explosives tonight. And I mean, that to me was a big part of this game is that, the one thing about Matt Breida's fast. He's fast and he can make big plays. And the one thing about Jalen Hyatt, he's got a lot of speed. The one thing about Daniel Jones, he has a lot of speed. And the fact of the matter is none of these guys made any big plays. And, the Niners had all the big plays in the game.
Yeah, they're big play guys. Purdy, Debo, McCaffrey, and Kittle, all big fantasy points tonight. They played well. All of them had some big nights. So, hey, Larry, I got to run. I got my show running for the Giants.
What happened tonight in the baseball game? The Giants
lost. They lost 7-2, and it was a disaster. Yaz let the go-ahead run score on a short pop fly. He forgot how many outs there were.
Danny, let me recommend. I tweeted it out. If anybody has seen my video, did you see my video from the show the live stream that I did earlier today about Kapler and the Giants and the Verducci article?
I think I saw. Was that yesterday or the day?
No, I did it. We taped it today. You got. I tweeted it out.
I'll play it on the show. I'll play it on the show.
Play it on the show. It is one of. Damon said, "Krueg, it's your finest moment."
I'll love it. I'm going to look for it. We're going to
look for it. It's on Damon's channel, or you can. I tweeted it out. You can pull it off Twitter.
I got Claudia Jestro waiting in the dugout for us tonight. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Tell her I said hi.
I will.
All right, Danny. See ya. There you go. The great Dan Coach Emilio going over to NorCal Sports Network. Let me get a couple more supers here. Glass Half Full guy says, I feel like Fred Warner should blitz way more. Seems really good at it, in my humble opinion. What do you think, Baller? Should Wilkes bring Warner more with some blitzes?
I think he is blitzing him a little bit more. He had the sack last week, looping in free. Yeah. But I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier. He's the best coverage linebacker I've ever seen. So while he is good at blitzing, and I don't mind him blitzing occasionally, I think that's good just to keep the offensive line off guard. You don't know if Fred's blitzing or if he's dropping it, keeping him honest. But like I said, he's the best coverage linebacker I've ever seen. So I want him locking down that middle of the field. But he's also really good at blitzing. So, yeah, send him once in a while.
Here's an interesting super. I want your thoughts on this one. This is from Dazzo0187. He says, it's great we got a good win, but there was no Saquon Barkley. The Giants had their second string left guard and second string left tackle. I think the win should have been a bit easier. What do you think about that comment? I'll say this. To me, I think the reaction tomorrow nationally is going to be the Niners kick the Giants around. Why? Because people will look at the final score and then they'll look at the box score. And if you look at the box score and you look at the way that box score pans out, it's very one-sided. It's 26 first downs for the Niners, 10 for New York, 78 total plays, 46 for the Giants. Niners with almost a straight 2-1 time of possession advantage, 39-10 possession for the Niners, 20-50 for the Giants. Niners were +1 in turnovers. They outrushed them 141-29, and they outpassed them 300-121. The total yardage, the Niners almost had 300 more total yards. It was 441-150. In some ways, Baller, I think the box score is somewhat deceiving. I mean, now granted, you're watching on TV. I'm here in the stadium. What do I know? I really believe that the person watching on TV almost gets a better view of the game than us in the stadium. I definitely
feel like that when I go to typically at least a couple Niners games a year, and you feel like you're kind of miss out. There's some stuff where you don't get a good look at a replay. You're like, what happened? Kind of. So I get what you mean. The TV audience has a better perspective. Kind of, they hear the announcers or looking at.
You hear the announcers. You get a feel for it. I mean, obviously, if you're in the stadium, you can look at the coverage down the field, and you can see the coverage. Yeah. And you hear the crowd. But in some ways, like I kind of felt like watching this game, like this was a closer game than, like, let's just say this. When I went downstairs and we're waiting outside the locker room for 10 minutes before they opened it up, Kyle comes out, he speaks at the podium. So we're all gathered outside. I'm looking at the box score and the numbers, and I thought, man, the Niners really drubbed these guys. And yet when I watched it, it felt like a much more even game than the box score says. So I wonder tomorrow when people go and they examine this game, if they're going to look at that box score and the 2-1 time of possession advantage and the total yardage edge and say, man, the Niners really kicked the crap out of the Giants. Or did you think they were going to beat them worse?
I did. No, I predicted on my channel 33-3. So I was off there, and I usually don't have such drastic score differentials, but I really thought the Niners were going to give Daniel Jones a lot of problems, which I think they did. But 33-3 was off. Your prediction was closer.
You said 33-3 is what you thought?
Yeah, 33-3. Now, and on Thursday night, on short rest, sometimes you see these Thursday night games and they're real sloppy or they're real low scoring. It's almost like it kind of levels the playing field a little bit just on the short rest. But, especially with the Giants' offensive line now, as soon as when that news came out, I was like, oh, this D-line is going to give Daniel Jones hell. Just looking at week 1 and what the Cowboys did to Daniel Jones and those Giants, I was thinking the Niners were going to replicate something like that because those are the two top defensive lines, up there with the Eagles in the NFC.
Yeah, it's funny. When I looked at this game on paper before the game, I thought, okay, the Niners have a major advantage D-line to the Giant O-line because the Giant O-line, they got a rookie center. They got a replacement left guard, a replacement left tackle. You're going up against Hargrave, Armstead, Drake Jackson, Nick Bosa. I expected the Niner defensive line to dominate. But then when you look at the box and you watched it, the Niners only had 2 sacks and 6 hits on the quarterback. Both teams had the exact same deal up front. 2 sacks for the Giants, 2 sacks for the Niners, 6 hits for the Niners on the quarterback, 6 hits for the Giants on the quarterback. So I kind of thought the Niners D-line would dominate more. The other area I thought the Niners
Here's the difference there, Krug. Here's the difference. Ahead. Niners are rushing 4 predominantly, and the Giants were sending 5 and 6.
They were bringing the house. A lot of exotics, too. A lot of crazy blitzes. The other one I thought was kind of interesting is I thought when you take out Barkley and you looked at the, so then, I didn't think the Giants would be able to run. And sure enough, they didn't run. I mean, they were not able to run. 22 carries, or not 22 carries. What was it? 11 carries for 29 yards. So 2.5 yards a carry. They couldn't run it. But the area I thought the Niners would really dominate was the receivers. And I didn't know, when I made the prediction if Ayuk was going to be out for sure. I'll say this, I'm glad the Niners sat Ayuk out. You knew they weren't going to need Ayuk to win this game at home. You knew this Giant team that struggled with the Cardinals and got destroyed by Dallas, they weren't going to win this game. So I'm glad. I thought it was a smart move to sit out Ayuk. But when I looked at the depth chart and I thought, okay, Giants have 2 rookie corners. Adoree Jackson has gotten torched so far. I thought Juwan Jennings was going to go off. He only had 2 catches for 31 yards. I thought there was a very good chance Ronnie Bell would have a big night. He only wound up with 2 catches, though he did get in the end zone. The Niners did have...
Juwan's catch, don't lose your thought, Larry, but one of Juwan's catches was on the first offensive drive for the Niners, and it was huge. It was 3rd and 8.
Yeah, it was.
And it was a 24-yard post where I don't know if you saw his release off the line, Larry. He just destroyed the DB off the line. Beat him, stacked him, separated, and Brock, the throw was a tad behind, but hey, Juwan made it look easy, just plucked it, boom. So Juwan, he relatively quiet night, but when he makes catches, aren't they like 3rd down?
Oh, he's clutch, man. He's a money receiver.
Yeah.
He's a big time money receiver. But Adoree Jackson's numbers baller have been really bad this year. And I was kind of a little bit surprised that that Juwan didn't even, have. I thought Juwan was going to have like an 8 or 9 catch, 90-yard type night. Instead, he had 2 catches for 31 yards, and the big story was Debo. But I guess if you look at it, 25 catches for 310 yards for Niner receivers. Purdy throws for 310. So it's not like I guess they did exploit that matchup pretty good. But I thought there was a chance the Niners passing. Here was my thought. I wasn't sure. I bet this game, but I took the Niners on the teaser. I took the Niners -3, and then I parlayed it with the Chiefs in the teaser Sunday against the Bears. And I'm sitting because the Chiefs got the Bears at Arrowhead this week, and the Bears are in a world of hurt. I just think Kansas City probably blows out the Bears in that game. But and I think
you're going ultra conservative, Larry. That sounds like the most conservative bet that I've heard about. Teasing, well, I mean, a 2-team teaser.
It was a 2-team teaser, and it's basically it was the Niners -3, and I think I've got Kansas City -5, maybe.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah, that's easy. That's pretty. Now I don't like to go 3-teamers or 4-teamers or anything really super crazy, but I am conservative with some of these bets because it's like I could have taken the Niners -10, but the spread was hanging in the balance for a lot of the game. I mean, it was 17-6 at halftime. It was 20-12 at the end of the third quarter. So you only had an 8-point difference. The Niners weren't covering until the fourth. So I mean, ultimately they did cover the 10.5, but it wasn't. I don't know if I've seen easier covers than this one.
I was watching my daily fantasy lineups. I filled out a few Thursday night daily fantasies. Right?
What'd you go with?
Well, the biggest value on the docket was Ronnie Bell. He was pennies. He was 200 on DraftKings. So I loaded him up, and I ended up coming in. I made some money, but the thing with DraftKings, if I needed Waller to make a play, Waller was the only Giant that I had. I had Debo, I had McCaffrey, Purdy, Kittle, Ronnie Bell, right? So if Darren Waller would have made a play, I made money tonight, but I would have made some serious cash. I was saying, Waller, catch a ball, do something. He did get a PI. They isolated him and Demo down the left sideline, and Jones gave him a shot. Demo got flagged. Although I thought it was a relatively soft PI call. But anyway, so Baller made some money tonight, but it was real. I was a Waller play away from raking in something fat.
Do you like daily fantasy?
I do. Yeah, I hit a lineup for 6K a couple years back. So when you hit one of those, it kind of suckers you in. So now it's like I gotta fill out at least 5-10 lineups on Sunday.
We get this one from Holes Joe. He says, "What do you guys think about Steve Wilkes as defensive coordinator so far?" You can go first on that. What do you think of Wilkes?
I think he's doing good. Him and D'Amico have a similar style, I feel like, in the sense of Niners, they play that kind of bend but don't break, right? And you really saw it last week against the Rams. Like, they'll give up the 5-yard pass, the 7-yard pass, because it's going to take you 15 plays to get down the field. And they're banking on, hey, we're going to jump a route or we're going to make a play at some point during that drive. So I see similarly kind of that bend but don't break. I will say it does seem like Wilkes dials up some blitzes a little bit more. He blitzes not only on third down but on second down. So I think Wilkes is doing a good job.
It's funny. Wilkes is up in the booth. D'Amico was on the sideline. Yeah. But you know what? My whole thing on that is go where you're comfortable. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to watch the game from a vantage point that makes them comfortable. If Steve is more comfortable as a guy who's been a DB coach and a former DB at Appalachian State, if he's more comfortable with the bird's eye view, then I think Steve should be up in the booth. If you're more comfortable, being down there on the sideline, then be down there on the sideline. You can communicate with your guys either way. They can get on the phones he's in Warner's ear because Warner's wearing the green dot, so he's got a communication straight to Warner. But I like what I've seen from Wilkes so far. I mean, he's stepped into a situation that's very difficult. The 49ers had the number one defense in the league last year. So in a lot of ways, there's nowhere to go but down. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not like if the Niners are number one on defense this year, people are going to go, Steve Wilkes is the man. No, they're going to say, Steve didn't fuck it up. That's what they're going to say. If Steve, if the Niners are mid-pack defense this year, guess what they're going to say? Steve Wilkes screwed it up. So in a lot of ways, it was a thankless job for him to come here. I like Steve. I think Steve is smart. I think he is aggressive. I think he's intense. There's an intensity about Steve that I really, really like. Very serious, very guy.
intense. Watch some of these the interviews, the pressers. Check some of those out. He's a very serious guy, well-spoken, very well thought, but serious.
Right, and it's not his first rodeo. He's done it before. He like strikes you when he talks as this guy's got his shit together, His game's a little different than D'Amico in that I think he lets Chris do what Chris wants to do up front, which I think is smart, right? Because Chris has had a lot of success. The Niners D-line is the tip of the sphere. They're why would you change it? Why would you change it? Then you look at the way he mixes in the linebacker blitzes. I was impressed by the way they adjusted at halftime to Stafford. First half, they came out and they played a zone. Now I was a little surprised because Stafford was completing pass after pass to Puka Nacua. And then sure enough, the Niners don't play a ton of man, but in the second half, they came out in a man look. They hugged up on Nacua and they took it away. And I liked the in-game adjustments that I saw last week against the Rams. Tonight, I mean, mission accomplished. You didn't give up the home run ball to Jalen Hyatt. You didn't let Daniel Jones run wild. I thought the guys were in position to, they made the G-men drive the field. They didn't get over, didn't get out of their run lanes. They were very disciplined. When Jones completed a pass, they stepped up and made the tackle. They took good angles. Yeah. I thought they played smart. They played with poise with the ball in the air. Several things I really liked it because, let's be honest here. The Giants were outgunned. The Niners were double-digit favorites. The Giants are short week, on the road, other side of the country. So how are the Giants going to win this game? If the Niners turned it over, Niners didn't turn it over, or if there were busted coverages, there weren't busted coverages. There weren't a lot of big plays for the Giants. They limited the Giants' explosives. They took away Hyatt as a threat. They didn't let Daniel Jones run it. Breida's got a ton of speed. He didn't have any big runs. So
won the turnover battle.
They won the turnover battle. Didn't take a lot of chances on defense. You don't need to gamble when you have the better team. I kind of like the way Steve has taken over in that he doesn't seem like, hey, I've got to put my stamp on this. He does, what I like about Steve, he's fully in control, but he doesn't seem like an egomaniac. He doesn't seem like a guy, I. It's like he's a little bit more grounded. I think you said it right, Baller. You go to his press conferences, he'll sit down, he walks into the room, he's like, okay, guys, this is what I'm seeing. This is how I feel. This is what I'm seeing. All right, now I'm going to open it up to your questions. And he's very serious. He's very direct, and he gives you a good answer. I like him. There's an intensity about Steve that I really like. I really like it.
There is. And what I like about him, he seems to keep offenses off balance. I loved the corner blitz that he brought last week. He brought Charvarius Ward, who had Stafford, dead in his sight. Stafford managed to make a miss, but it was a great call. It was a free rusher that Steve Wilkes schemed up. You see him blitzing Oliver a little bit, the linebackers. So, and sometimes they'll have those linebackers. I call it the nickel double A gap because that's what they call it in Madden. When the linebackers will hover over the center, they'll have six guys up across the line, and sometimes a guy will blitz, or they'll just send four and drop back into coverage. So I love what I'm seeing from Steve because he's giving offenses different looks, and it's working.
Let me hit a couple supers, and then we got a special guest in the green room who's going to join us. Matthew Rowley jumps in. He says, Wilkes better stop playing soft at the end of the half, giving up points right before the half of every game. Yeah, the one thing I didn't like is I really didn't like the bend but don't break. I mean, you're shutting the Giants down, and then all of a sudden they get the ball right before the end of the first half, and it's like boom, boom, boom. They moved all the way down the field, and it's like the coverage in that spot was a tad bit soft. This one from Euro, he says, scored 30, but we don't look the same without Brandon Ayuk. Well, there's no question. I mean, they don't have a replacement for Ayuk. I mean, Ronnie Bell's nice. Juwan Jennings is nice. These are nice players, but they're not Ayuk. Ayuk's a star, man. Ayuk's a dynamic player who runs across the middle of the field like he freaking owns it. I mean, there's no way to replicate. This is why when you lose big time guys, your team takes a step backwards because it's just you can't replicate a Brandon Ayuk.
He's a special player.
Yep, we got this one as well from. He says what does I say? Hoyes Joe. He says, so right now, who would you rather have, Lord Fangio or Wilkes? I know Grant was pushing hard for Fangio, and Fangio's a great defensive coordinator, but I think Fangio would have wanted to run a 3-4. And you have a lot of momentum going with the wide 9 and the 4-3 look. And not to mention, you've got, look at the Niner personnel. They don't have, 4 or 5 two gappers, which is what you need in a 34 front. They've got guys who are gap shooters, one gap penetrators. Kevin Givens, one gap penetrator. You just signed Hargrave, one gap penetrator. T.Y. McGill, one gap penetrator. I mean, really, they don't have 3-4 personnel. Let's welcome in Damon Bruce, who's hanging out in the green room. D. Bruce. Bruce.
Hey,
they're not booing, they're brucing. What's up, Damon?
You never, ever mess with a streak, and I have joined you after both games, and how could I not pop on with you guys tonight? Larry, great to see you. Bay Area baller, great to see you as always, and man, it weren't the prettiest game you're ever going to see. It's amazing how that, seems to be a trend on Thursday night football, whether it be an early, late, mid-season Thursday night football game. They're always screwy. And as we were talking about, Larry, when you take a professional athlete out of his rhythm, it affects their preparation. It affects Kyle's preparation. And that's why this was just a methodical billy clubbing more than it was a surgical dissection of the patient. I mean, this was a game that didn't finish in the red zone the way a lot of people want to see drives that reach the red zone finish. They had to settle for field goals. I think that Brandon Ayuk's absence is as big a contributor to that as any lack of being able to strategize in a short week. Ayuk matters, especially in the red zone, but you had the money in this game happening on the length of drives. I mean, you had first half scoring drives of 15 plays, 11 plays, 11 more plays. The field goal in the third quarter, which everyone in the real time was complaining about it only being a field goal. Look, that got the lead back to 8 to keep the game in safe distance, and that was an 11-play drive. Kyle pounded the rock tonight, and he did it without overusing Christian McCaffrey. And on a night where, Brock Purdy has the quietest 310-yard touchdown passing game you're ever going to see, because he's not throwing the ball downfield. He's 8 yards and under the line of scrimmage pretty much all afternoon, right where Kyle wants him. And, without even playing great, they hold the Giants team to 12 points, and they score 30 again, the 6th straight game, scoring 30 points, which is a new franchise record. And how can I not come on to talk about this one with both of you after that? It wasn't beautiful. The beauty pageant was not.
I don't know if the Thursday
and-
nighters never are. They never are. It's funny. I asked Colton McKivitz in the locker room. I said, "Hey, Colton, if you're going to have a Sunday Thursday, wouldn't you rather have it in week 2 than in like week 12?" And he's like, "Totally. Because if you have it," and he goes, "Oh, by the way," I go, "What are you going to do with your extra day off?" And he goes, "Me and my wife, we're going to go wine tasting up in Napa." So there you go. Colton McKivitz will be wine tasting up in Napa. But he said, "Yeah, I'd much rather have the Thursday game be earlier in the year because you're fresher and your body, has an ability to bounce back better. When you got it, because let's be honest, man. They played Sunday. Okay, so then they're banged up on Monday. You're feeling like hell. The coaches fly right into, the airport, go right to the facility. They're sleeping in the facility. They're working all day Monday. The players can rest up on Monday, but then Tuesday, you got the full install. First down, second down, third down. All your wrinkles have to be introduced on Tuesday. Then you have a walkthrough, and you're playing Thursday night. The turnaround is just incredible. In some ways, I'm surprised that the players, voted for the extra go with Thursday night. But the players always want more money, and this is an ability for them to make more money. But this is not baseball. This is not basketball. This is a sport where guys are hurling themselves into contact on every freaking snap. But he said, yeah, if I could choose, I'd much rather play, the Thursday night game in September than play 10 games and then have a Thursday night mixed in when you're already got 19 different physical maladies that you're battling, and now you got a quick turnaround. So maybe in some ways it was a benefit to play this game early on.
Well, that's coming though. They're getting their late season Thursday night game when they play on Thanksgiving.
That's right.
Seattle.
That's right.
So
Forgot about that. You're right.
It's still coming whether they want it or not. So, but yeah, you get this out of the way, and like we were talking about earlier today, Larry. I think we both like the position. We like the position that they were in. They held their position. And it's probably a game that they're losing from a gambling standpoint if Saquon Barkley played. He's such a difference maker for them. And you could see that neither, Brightwell or Matt Breida was going to be able to play and replicate what you get out of a talent like Saquon Barkley. So this was a well-positioned, well-timed game for the 49ers. They took advantage of every situation they needed to take advantage of. They're 3-0. They scored 30 on a night where Purdy wasn't particularly even dialed in, a very quiet 300. And look who it is. John Dickinson.
Look at that. JD's in the house. Now we got a full foursome here. Myself, Bay Area Baller on the top, Damon Bruce, and the great John Dickinson from 95.7 The Game on the bottom. And JD, before we get your thoughts, Damon, let's get a quick promo in, because this is going to be one of those Thursday night drive home fast, not of course the speed limit, but get home fast. And then we got the quick turnaround tomorrow. We've got the Palmetto 49er wake up at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Are you ready for the wake up?
Acai bowl in the fridge to show everyone how beautiful they are tomorrow morning. And yes, at 8 a.m., we are going to be at it. We are going to be up, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and I think we're both good after a game. You give us a night to sleep on this stuff and think about it, we get even better. So you and I, 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, it's a straight-up hostile takeover of Bay Area properties. That's what we're in here now for. Good to see you, JD. How are you?
Good to
JD,
see you.
what's up, man?
Yeah, good
What's
to
up,
see
JD?
Good to see everybody. Yeah, just kind of a ho-hum, workman-like win for the 49ers. Not always pretty. I thought at times the game Sunday was even prettier than tonight's, and Sunday wasn't really a work of art. But they didn't let Daniel Jones hurt him. Running the football, which I thought was key. I know that was a big topic in the locker room afterwards, was the fact that the Niners were prepared for it. And the Giants also didn't really try it a whole heck of a lot. Not a lot of zone read or any real zone read trying to, put the ball in his hands where he could keep them off balance from that standpoint. And, the Niners just kind of, I think we saw life's a little different without Brandon Ayuk, in this game. I think, again, the Niners defense steps up, and once they get teams in a position where they're playing uphill, that's when the turnover comes. And, Nick Bosa making an impact on the game early. I thought the defensive line really controlled the game for the 49ers early. And it looks like from being in the post-game press conference, they did avert disaster on Debo. Now we'll see. It looked like
he looked pretty sore. I said to him, "Good game after," and I said, "You got time to talk?" And then immediately the PR guys are like, "He's going to the podium. He's going to the podium. Leave him alone." But he seemed to be in a little bit of pain. What did they say about his injury?
Yeah, he said that he fell on the ball. And
that's what I said to you or somebody. I said he looked like I was watching it on the binoculars. It looked like he fell on the ball like high up, like in his solar plexus, and may have lost his air.
Yeah, he said he fell on the ball, and at first he thought it was a rib, and then he went into the tent and they checked him out and they thought he was good in the tent. And then he kind of thought as time went on that he just kind of got the wind knocked out of him a little bit from getting hit with the ball. So the way he put it, and it sounded like Kyle Shanahan still had the, whatever the list was, it was on Shanahan's list, it was rib. But it seemed like maybe Debo had gotten, and we'll find out more in the next couple of days, obviously, with the longer turnaround. But it was almost as if Debo had kind of ruled out rib. It was like he thought it was a rib, but then like it felt better as time had gone on, and that he had just fallen on the ball and knocked the wind out of him. So stay tuned on that one.
Didn't somebody fall on him on the ball? I mean, he fell on the ball, but didn't somebody kind of fall on his back and kind of compound the thing?
Yeah.
And so that's
after,
probably
after he made like 3 guys miss. Debo
Right.
Samuel was just spectacular today.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just they're throwing him tunnel screens and then he's going for 30 yards.
I know.
He
was really good.
Game too, baller. I really thought that was such a momentum play on a day where the passing game wasn't picking up chunk plays. They were kind of nickel and diming their way around. That's one of those, let's just see if we can maybe bring up something to think about on 4th down. They're not expecting a tunnel screen to pop for 30 there, and it does. There's another play to McCaffrey where it's a little screen that, was supposed to pretty much keep the team on schedule more than pick up a first down. That picked up the first down. So there were some very well-timed calls, I thought, by Shanahan. And
the sideline route to Kittle, not to interrupt you, but the sideline route to Kittle on the Niners side looked like he was going to go for 8 or 9, Damon, and it went for like 25.
Very big game from Kittle tonight. Kittle ended up making up for Brandon Ayuk's absence. Kittle has 9 targets, 7 catches, 90 yards. It felt like of his 7 catches, 4 of them come on 3rd down. He's making big plays in big moments. And on a night where possessing the ball was a big part of how you beat the New York Giants, long drives made up for the lack of explosion in this passing game, which I was surprised. I really was, to see when it was said and done that Purdy had eclipsed 300 yards. It didn't feel like he had that game, but then you look at the box and he did.
And it was a lot of yak tonight for the 49ers as well, whether it was the screens and taking advantage of all the blitzing that the Giants were doing. 215 of the 310 passing yards were after the catch.
Wow.
In the game tonight. 215 out of 310 after the catch.
The Niners have led the NFL in yards after the catch for 3 years running? 4, maybe more. I think it's like every year since 2018. I think the Niners have led the NFL in yak yardage, as JD referred. Yeah,
and Debo and Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle have all been in the top 2 of their position in yak for the last 3 years now, the beginning of this year and the last 2 years going back. And so, you saw Ayuk being out. The Niners took advantage. It was a lot of short stuff that turned into long stuff. I want to give Ronnie Bell. You guys may have talked Ronnie Bell. I thought Ronnie Bell had a really nice game tonight. The touchdown,
2 catches.
The Johnny on the spot, the ball gets tipped. He's able to make that catch. And then
in traffic.
And then he had the big play early on the
special
punt.
teams. Yeah,
on
punt coverage.
the punt coverage. Exactly.
Oh, that's right. Forgot about that one.
The Niners punted after their second possession, so it was 3-3 at this point, and the Niners punted. And yeah, Ronnie Bell with a nice hit in punt coverage as well, and he was hanging on. I know, Larry, you were in the locker room. He was hanging on to that football, man, with that first touchdown. It was like it was his newborn baby.
I'll tell you what a weird deal the post game locker room is. So Ronnie's walking around, just came out of the shower, standing there in a towel. And I said to him, and there's nobody around him. There's people interviewing Kittle and all on his side of the locker room. And I said, "Hey man, great game. You got time to talk for a minute?" He's like, "Yeah, man. Hold on a second. I'm just gotta find some clothes." I'm like, "Yeah, no problem. Take your time." And so I'm standing there at his locker, and he's got a towel on. He's looking for his like shower shorts, right? So, where you can just throw on some of those, not your actual shorts, just, the shorts that you wear while you're drying off, basically. There is 40 people standing around his locker with cameras and lights. And the he's just got a towel on, and it's like, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to change." And all 40 people are still standing there, like literally 2 feet away from the guy, and it's like, so I backed away. I'm like, I'm sorry. I mean, it's like, I want to do an interview with Ronnie Bell, but I'm not going to stand here as the guy freaking derobes. And I mean, it's amazing how, it's just, there's no privacy at these guys don't have a stall. I mean, the Warriors, the Giants, I mean, there's some of these teams, there's not quite as much media as there is in a post-game NFL locker room. But I mean, man, come on, man. I mean, you got
what they need in these locker rooms? They don't need more, like USB ports to charge cell phones, and everyone's got a little, a place to charge their iPhone in their locker. Yeah. You know what they need? What they need are deeper lockers and saloon doors. So you can just dip in privacy. For a minute, you put your dick away and then come on out and talk to everyone like that. Right. That would be nice for these guys.
And it's so weird. People want to get the story so bad that they're like, "Yeah, we'll let you change as we're standing here." I mean, it's just such a bizarre scenario. Hey, JD and Damon, did you guys, what was your takeaway? Baller and I kind of already talked about the Oliver, Mooney, Ward. You've got the tight end. I've got the receiver. They couldn't decide. And then finally, Oliver just literally pushed Ward, like, "You take that guy." What'd you think of that sequence? I mean, you see miscommunications all the time and some confusion, but not to the point where like both guys insist on guarding one guy. What'd you think of that play? It was in the second half. I don't know if either of you noticed that play.
It's rare. I do think there have been some plays in these first three games that show you as well as the 49ers defense has been and is probably going to be, that they're still trying to figure Steve Wilkes out a little bit. And I think Steve Wilkes is trying to figure out who he has and how he can best blend the talent that he has with the style of play that he likes to play. Because, we were talking a lot about the Giants blitzing a lot, and that's kind of what they do. Well, Steve Wilkes is used to blitzing a lot in his career as a defensive coordinator. And I think, he goes about things a little bit differently. And so I think it creates, some change from the way the 49ers have been run. How about some of the 5-man fronts tonight for the Niners? The Niners are just running 5 down linemen a few times. Kinlaw in there with Hargrave and Bosa and Cleveland Ferrell and Armstead or Drake Jackson. Like they had 5 of those guys on the field in rush situations a few different times. It tells you that they didn't think the Giants had the weaponry to make them pay for that, obviously. But that was even a new wrinkle. I know that doesn't answer the question directly that you were talking about, but I just think it goes to new scheme, new personnel groupings on defense, figuring out assignment football the best that they can in the context of trying to like their defense to me still feels like a work in progress, Damon. It feels like it's going to be great because there's a lot of talented pieces. it may be even better as time goes on, but they're also maybe going to take some lumps early in the year. And I think we've seen that on some individual series and with some individual plays where it looks like guys aren't totally comfortable with each other.
What I think is going to become common, and we just need to bake it into the way we're evaluating things, especially in the first month of the year, is there is such a de-emphasis on preseason first team snaps that the first couple games of the year are an experimental phase or a coming together phase. And I always want to be totally honest with you, Larry. I did not see the shoving off of Mooney Ward, and I'm going to take,
it was in the fourth quarter.
I've got what I did write down, though. The note that I did make is that Isaiah Oliver is coming into his own. And maybe him coming into his own is him saying, I am more familiar with what Steve Wilkes wants to do in this moment because I've been in his defense longer than you have. So trust me on this one, Mooney. You might be the better player, but I'm more familiar with this concept. Again, I didn't see it, so I'm making notes, and my eyes were down in that moment. But I did write that Isaiah Oliver played Darren Waller better than anybody else in that secondary tonight. So him wanting Waller, I think, is just a sign of him becoming more comfortable and taking more leadership in a defensive scheme that he's going to be a bit more familiar with than guys who are getting to know Steve Wilkes and they've only been out there for 3 weeks with each other. So a good game for Isaiah Oliver. That was my takeaway from this. And he's had his 2 best weeks in his 49ers uniform in the last 2 weeks we've seen him.
Yeah. I think that's a good call. There's no question. Wilkes really likes Oliver, and he didn't look good in the preseason, but as the regular season, every game he seems a little bit more comfortable, playing a little bit faster. He seems just a little bit more comfortable with what they're doing. Let me read a couple of these supers. Dazzo says, Kittle after the game, so the team is leaving a bit of meat on the bone. Nitpicking, but they're going to be playing much better teams later. Well, I think that's fair to say. I think also, one thing you got to remember is a lot of a Thursday night game is, man, just get in and get out. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just, none of these Thursday night games are really beautiful to watch. Everybody's a little gassed. Guys are dragging. They used Mitchell a lot tonight instead of McCaffrey. Why? Because they're trying to get through the game.
I'm glad that they used Mitchell, by the way, and Mitchell played
I am
well.
Too. Yeah, Mitchell did. He looked good. Jared Parkinson says lots of Purdy criticism in the first quarter was shaky, but the throw to Bell on the touchdown and the throw to McCaffrey, which were the drop, were dimes. Hey, I'll mix in how about the throw to Debo? I mentioned to McKivitz, I'm like, what did you see on the Debo, the Purdy the Debo play? And he's like, man, I was blocking, and all of a sudden I saw the ball go, and it just dropped right in his hands, and I did a little celebration with Brock. I thought that Brock pass to Debo was one of the best passes Brock's had all year. He just it was like a 25-yard handoff. Literally
it was a throw that
right
he missed last week. He missed Ayuk on a very similar throw. So I was happy to see him connect. And then the touchdown to Ronnie Bell, what I loved about that was Wink Martindale sent a blitz at him. And Brock Purdy showed off his anticipation, got the ball out just before the defenseman got to him and hit Ronnie Bell. Because when you're sending 5 or 6 guys at you, you got to think quickly.
No doubt. I don't know if you guys knew this, but did you know that Martindale brought the blitz on 33 of the 39 Purdy dropbacks? 33 of 39,
whoa.
Man.
It was
whoa.
It seemed like it was almost every play. It really did, and that was a big topic in the post-game press conferences, was that the Niners were ready for it, that even when you're ready for it, it can still be a problem because they just have more than you can compensate for. And to your point, Baller, if you don't get the ball out, then you're in trouble immediately. They thought that chess match was, the Giants got the better of them at times, but it also leaves the defense vulnerable to being able to make plays, and that they were able to make enough plays to make it hurt for them, blitzing as much as they did.
One of the luckiest plays that the Giants found going in their direction tonight was the missed. It was right on the goal line, and basically it was a zero blitz. The Giants sent everyone, and it looked like Kittle had a walk it in if you just throw it to me touchdown, but he slipped. He slipped on the line, and that was one of those points where, oh, you're settling for another field goal. Not happy about that. But again, there are going to be games where Kyle is going to be aggressive. And I think there are going to be games where Kyle looks at and surveys the land and think it is better to be penny wise than pound foolish in this moment. He got to that moment with an early decision about midfield, 4th and 1. What am I going to do? Am I going to punt and flip the field here, or am I going to go for it? He decided to punt. He left some points on the board by saying, I'm taking the field goal instead of looking to punch one in here. And that was the right play tonight. I just think you're looking at a team without its best player in the Giants and Saquon Barkley. And it was a night for Kyle to err on the side of his conservative nature. And
I'll say one thing too, Damon, is that
he still got 30. I mean, that's a crazy thing. He still got his 30. So
I know, it's amazing.
Yeah,
and
6 straight regular season games with 30, the last 3 of last year and the first 3 this year.
And they leaned on the rookie kicker. And I talked to Jake in the locker room afterwards. I did a little interview with him that we'll put up on YouTube later on. Jake is solid. I mean, that's the other one. When you're in the upper deck and like we're in the press box, I'm watching this thing. I'm not getting like the head-on view. For you guys who watched it on TV, which would be Baller and Damon, how did Moody's kicks look to you on TV?
True.
Were they straight down the middle, or
one of the short ones was a little close, but other than that, yeah, they were down the middle. One of the snaps was a high snap, and anytime the holder's got to reach up and grab it, it kind of throws off the timing a little bit. But Moody still struck it. That one went right down the middle. So I mean, he looked good. One of the short ones kind of went in with a narrow margin, but hey, man, I'm happy with what I'm seeing from Moody.
I like kickers. I like kickers who don't have a hook or a slice in their kicks. And right. Baller, you are right. The one that came closer to the upright than the other down the middles, that was still on a straight line. I mean, it was still on a straight line. So he kicks them straight, and just you hope they're in between the pipes. He doesn't have a hook or a slice. So I think he's going to be a good kicker in this league. It's a nice start to a career. He hasn't missed anything. And you can't complain about the guy who doesn't miss. So there you are they the most aesthetically pleasing at all times, perfectly straight? You should get 3.5 points. That was so down the middle. No, but who cares? 3 points.
Let me hit a couple more of these supers. Dazzo says Ronnie Bell looked good. There's no question. And Ronnie Bell is kind of like a veteran rookie. He's his dad's a wide receiver coach in college, and he's just very refined. What's Holes Joe or what's Hoy's Joe says, which Giants didn't show tonight, San Francisco or New York? I didn't watch any of the Giants game, the baseball Giants, but I heard they lost.
They got beat 7-2.
Really sad.
By the way, you got Larry Krueger. Ralph
moment of silence for the Giants.
What were you going to say, David? Ralph Barbieri would have been very proud of the rant that you had today that I pushed out as a separate video, Larry. People got to go see. It's the 29 greatest minutes of your career happened on my channel today. They were hysterical. You were in rare sports phone Krueger taking out the San Francisco Giants form. I can only suggest that everyone, if you're still looking to get out of the Santa Clara parking lot, you go listen on your way home to 29 minutes of Larry just eviscerating the Farhan era. It was
enjoyable. It was cathartic. I felt so much cathartic about it. Tom Colby says, guys, 0 coverage constant on a short week, 0 turnovers. Purdy could have made it a game for my New York Giants, like many former quarterbacks. Yeah, Purdy was solid. The one thing about Purdy is Purdy doesn't turn it over. He doesn't turn it over. He's patient. He goes to the next down.
There were a couple that
he could have. How about the soft
again? That's a
How about the soft? Remember the soft throw that he had to Debo in the end zone? That thing was almost picked. I mean, that thing really hung up. I thought his first half was really one of the worst halves I've seen from him. But you know what? I'll say this. He avoided the hugely negative play, and it's not just about make a play, make a play, make a play. It's also about don't make negative plays, and he didn't. Gizmo says, is Kyle overusing CMC? Maybe a little. What do you guys think of that? I would say maybe a little. I mean, tonight he balanced it out a little bit, but
Yeah.
I'd like to see like a 65-35 CMC to the other backs ratio. What do you think?
I said this last week to you guys. Like, I think when you see
Baller, you got to jump. Are you baller?
No.
More?
I want more. I want more than 65, Larry. 65. Okay. I want 75%, 75 to 80. I mean, not last week. Last week, McCaffrey had 100% of the running back touches. So
okay.
But give me 75, 80%. This is Christian McCaffrey. I don't want him to be taken off the field, and I don't think McCaffrey wants to be taken off the field. Remember, these guys can tap out at any time. If he needs a breather, he'll point to the sideline, and Eli will come running in. So a part of it's on CMC.
And Bobby T. Go ahead, JD.
No, he wants to be out there. I do think that's part of it for sure. I think the other thing is when Shanahan has him in the game and they start, like, he's just such a safety net for Kyle Shanahan.
He can do everything
that he just wants to have. I think he intends to give him a series off or a few plays off, but I think the game gets in certain situations, the down and distance on a drive, all of a sudden. The Rams game, to me, the reason he played every snap of that game was because the game was in doubt. The Rams made the game in doubt, and it was like, well, when am I going to get him out now? Now the game's tied, so I got to leave him in the game now. Whereas maybe he had planned, if they had been up 10-0 or something, that you can give him a series here or there. And so to me, it's the dramatic difference when you watch. Like, Elijah Mitchell's fine; he's a good running back. I think pretty damn good backup running back, but the difference in just sheer talent and the things you can do on the football field when McCaffrey's out there versus Mitchell, I think Shanahan, we all know he just gets a little greedy, and it's almost like leaving your starters in a blowout where he says, hey, I don't want to ever get in a position where I start taking guys out and then I want to put them back in. Like, Kyle Shanahan, like most head coaches, are control freaks. And having McCaffrey out there, he feels like he's in control of the game. And so I just think he has to teach himself how to be comfortable with having McCaffrey in the game a little bit less. And I think he comes up with a plan, but in game, the situations, he never gets to that point where he's fully comfortable giving him a full series off.
He's one of the 10 best players in this league, full stop. Any position, both sides of the ball, you add up all the talent in football, from the most talented guy to the least talented guy, a single file line. Christian McCaffrey is in the first 10 humans of this line. That's who he is in this league. He is going to have a season where he's brought up as an MVP. He's probably going to have to settle for, if the numbers are gaudy enough, Offensive Player of the Year, because the MVP is reserved for quarterbacks pretty much at this point in time. Christian McCaffrey is the most important piece. He is Kyle's queen on the chessboard. He can move in every direction. He's the most dangerous player, and that's why it's hard to say goodbye, because, he really is. With every single carry, Christian McCaffrey can either take it to the house, or any championship aspirations could completely go up in smoke should he be hurt. I mean, that's who he is. He's the most important guy on the team, full stop. That's it. So it's hard.
Guys, let's do this. Let's do this. We're an hour and 33 minutes into this stream. It's 2 minutes after 11. Let me thank our sponsors, and I've got one question for you guys that I want you guys to answer before we get out of here. But first, let's mention our sponsors. Of course, Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in the Bay Area. Check them out, Emeryville and Corte Madera. Love Pig and a Pickle. Damon and Mary, the great restaurant. Brought Damon there a couple weeks ago. JD, Baller, I'll bring you guys as well. We'll go have some barbecue. Get the brisket chili. Say hi to Damon, say hi to Mary. Tell him Krug sent you. So thanks to Pig and a Pickle. Thanks to New York Style Italian Sausage. Thanks to Mojo Fantasy. Thanks to Underdog as well. And also, bottom of the screen, you see the scroll. New sponsor, Marin Autoglass. MarinAutoglass.com. If you ever shatter a windshield, you need a new one, 415-883-3030. And now we'll get a quick word from Jurens, and then we'll get the guys' thoughts on this final question before we call it a night here at Levi's. But here's a quick mention from one of our new sponsors, Jurens.com. Hey everyone, it's Larry Krueger with Jurens Distributing Company. For over a half century, Jurens has been the cornerstone of excellence, trusted by Sacramento's finest restaurants, bars, and casinos. But now they're excited to announce that Jurens' exceptional products will be coming directly to you. That's right. Check out their new website, Jurens.com, Jurins.com. Jurens has a vast catalog with everything you need to elevate your kitchen and craft, from premium cocktail mixes to top-notch kitchen essentials that stand up to the rigors of a commercial kitchen. And here's the best part. When you shop at Jurens.com, you enjoy free nationwide shipping. That's right, free shipping. Jurens is able to offer customers best-in-class prices on all their products because they buy directly from the manufacturer and they cut out the middleman. But wait, there's more. For a limited time, get a fantastic 10% off your entire order by using the promo code Krueg, Krueg, at checkout. Make sure to check the link in the description and use that promo code Krueg, Krueg, at Jurens.com. All right, welcome back to the Krueg Show. As we're finishing up here, we got one last super chat here from
you telling me
Dazo.
I can get an entire, like a massive jar of martini olives delivered,
Yes.
shipping free. I am in for the martini olives.
Yes.
And boys, get over here. We'll have martini flight night at the Bruce residence. All three of you invited.
Give me some of those Marciano cherries too. I'm sure you
Yes.
get a vat of those. Just
Jurens is big time. They sent me margarita mixes. We'll do margaritas. Dazo 0187 says, how are we feeling about the Week 5 Cowboys game? So why don't we finish on that note, guys? How do you feel about Niners Cowboys? It's looming. It's going to be one of the games of the year. It's only a few weeks away at this point. What do you feel like the spread will be? And give me just your final thought on this one. Let's go around the room. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first because I got to get up early with you, Larry. So I'm going to get this in and I'm going to duck out, and I'll see hopefully everyone 8 a.m. 49ers wake up. Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger. Subscribe, hit like, notify, all those good things.
Brought to you by Palmetto Superfoods. The acai bowls are phenomenal.
The only thing I can tell you about the Week 5 game against the Dallas Cowboys is it shouldn't matter a goddamn lick right now. You got a Week 4 game against the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals might not be trying to win football games this year, but the Arizona Cardinals always give the 49ers more than they want. I don't know why. I can't explain it, but it happens. It happens all the time, every year, every fucking Cardinals game I watch. It's never easy. So don't turn Week 4 into a trap game because you're already thinking about the Cowboys in Week 5. That's how I think about the Cowboys. But if you ask me, what is the single biggest thing that maybe happened for the 49ers playoff chances, their ultimate playoff chances, is Trayvon Diggs tearing his ACL in practice, which he did today. The Cowboys suffered a massive injury that makes this win for the 49ers even more important. So there you go. Don't worry about the Cowboys until Week 5. Handle business in Week 4. Great to see you, JD. Great to see you, Baller. Larry, see you in the morning, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Make coffee. We're going to be up and at 'em at 8 a.m.
Have a good night, Damon. See you in the morning. The great Damon Bruce. JD, why don't we go to you next? Niners Cowboys, with your thoughts and your final thought on this game.
Both teams are going to be 4-0. Both teams play Arizona. The Cowboys play Arizona as their next game on Sunday, and then the Niners play them the following week. So both teams are playing Arizona, and then I think the Cowboys play the Patriots when the 49ers are playing Arizona. So both teams should be 4-0 going into that one. I think the games of the year in the NFC are the two matchups between the Cowboys and the Eagles, and then the game here, Week 5, when the 49ers play the Cowboys, and then when the Niners in December, on the 3rd of December, go to Philly. Like, those are the 4 games of the year in the NFC are the head-to-head matchups between those teams. I think those 4 games determine home field advantage in the NFC. And the way that I've viewed this thing to this point is really I'm looking at everything the Niners are doing, because we all do that on a day in, day out basis. And I'm looking at everything the Cowboys are doing and everything the Eagles are doing in their battle in the NFC East, because I really do think it is that 3-team race to see who's going to be at the top of the NFC. And I think the Niners want to get that 1 seed because they believe that if the road goes through Levi's Stadium in the playoffs, that they're going to be playing in Las Vegas in February at the Super Bowl. They've said it. The rallying cry was get off to a good start. They're 3-0. I'm with Damon. No slip ups against Arizona. And then you get to 4-0 and the Cowboys come in. But I think that is going to be the early marquee game on the schedule, because both teams are going to be 4-0 when they play on Sunday Night Football coming up here 2 weeks from Sunday. It's going to be awesome. I think the Niners are going to be probably a 4.5-point favorite in that one. Maybe it gets knocked down to 3.5, 2.5, 3 in that range. We'll see. But I think the Niners are probably a 4.5-point favorite, the 3 for being at home, and then another 1.5 for being, the team that's knocked the Cowboys out these last couple of years, and Diggs being out is a key part of that too. So I love that game. I think it's going to bring back, the memories of the 90s and even these last 2 years of the Niners knocking the Cowboys out. Both in Dallas and here at Levi's back in January. So it should be awesome. I'm not so concerned about the style points for the Niners as it relates to that game. Like, I know there's been a lot of that. Well, boy, if you play like you played against the Rams and the Giants against the Cowboys, you're going to lose. Not necessarily, but because you've played the way you've played against those teams doesn't mean you're going to play worse against the Cowboys or the same level. Like, a lot of times, when you're a good team, you have to raise your game against the best teams. So I think the 49ers would have the confidence that they're going to raise their game to the level that they need to beat the Cowboys. So I think that'll be awesome. As far as tonight, just continue to be impressed with the fact that Brock Purdy gets the job done, even when it isn't always the most aesthetically pleasing. Like, I think we're learning about Brock Purdy, even though
takes care of the ball.
He hasn't maybe played as well. Like, if you just took a snapshot of these first 3 games and say, has he played better or worse than you thought, just from the eye test? I'd probably say he's been a little worse than I would have thought, right? Or it's been a little less smooth maybe than you would have thought. But it's still been
But they're putting up 30 and they're winning the game.
It's still been more than functional to win the game, and he's not turning it over. So that to me is the big takeaway. Defense still figuring each other out, figuring Steve Wilkes out, but the defensive line dominance tonight I think was huge, and Bosa is starting to get there, which I think is huge for everybody.
Very exciting. All right, JD, we'll see you in a minute. We'll walk out together. Good to see you, brother. Baller, we'll leave you with the final thought.
Going against the Cowboys, these are 2 of the top defenses in the NFL. Micah Parsons has been playing phenomenal, early on in the season. DeMarcus Lawrence, Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb. It's a really talented team. But that being said, it feels like the Niners own the Cowboys, right? And I think JD was on the money. 3.5 point favorite. Something is what I would expect for the Niners. But I think that game is going to be low scoring, or relatively low scoring. Like, give me like 24-20, something along those lines. I don't expect it to be this big shootout. Not with these 2 defenses, not with these pass rushers. But don't overlook the Cardinals. Let's take care of business. It's the 3 home games in a row here. It was the Giants that we had tonight, and then Arizona and Dallas. All 3 are at home. And Larry, I know Damon spoke about some superstition. He's been joining you after each one of these games. Larry, I got to fill you in. I know your chat loves my stash.
Yes, it's a very nice
I had
stash.
noticed that. You know what? I haven't shaved after any one of these. Shaved the stash after any one of these Niner
Keep it rolling,
victories.
Man. Keep it rolling.
So now I'm growing this thing out. I'm not shaving it until the Niners lose. Hopefully they don't lose, and I just have this like grimy long stash, and I'll be coming on these post-game shows. But just to fill you in on the stash update, we're not shaving it till the Niners drop one.
Hey, we got 900 people still hanging in the room. Everybody needs to go to Bay Area Baller 18, sign up for his channel. Baller, have a great night, man. Good to see you. Always good to rap with you, brother.
Hey, absolutely. Looking forward to it. Hey, I got 10 or 15 subscribers last week. If we could add to that tonight, I appreciate it. Mondays, I'm live every Monday with my boys straight out of the Bay, and that's one of my favorite shows. So, hey,
Everybody
Krug,
sign up. Bay Area
I
Baller
appreciate
18.
you bringing me on, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Baller. Peace. All right, that's going to do it for us from Levi's. Niners get a nice win. Purdy plays well. The ball to Debo late was a dime. The Giants blitz the heck out of the 49ers, and the Niners put up 30, and they run their record to 3-0. For Damon and JD, for Baller, I'm Larry Krueger. Thanks to Kev, who couldn't be with us tonight, but he is out partying in San Luis Obispo with his friends. Hope he has a great night. Until tomorrow morning, join us at 8 a.m. for the Palmetto Superfood 49er Wake Up with myself and Damon Bruce on both of our channels. Check it out tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Until then, peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me.